So let us learn about the phases of the moon. The moon revolves around the earth. It completes one revolution around the earth in 27.3 days. The moon also rotates on its axis like a slowly spinning top. It takes about the same time, 27.3 days, to complete one rotation around its axis. That is why the same half of the moon always faces the earth. So the moon is revolving around the earth, as we all know. We can see this image. Yes. So it completes one revolution. Around the earth in 27.3 days. Okay. The moon also rotates on its own axis. We can see it is also rotated on its own axis like a slowly spinning top. So this also, the rotation and revolution both takes 27.3 days to complete one rotation or one revolution on its own axis. That is why what is happening, the half of the moon is always facing the earth. As you can see everywhere, the half of the moon is facing the earth. Okay. So as the moon revolves around the earth, one half of the moon receives sunlight while the other half remains dark. Because of the difference in the speed of rotation and revolution of the earth and the moon, we do not always see the entire lighted half of the moon. So as we can see, as the moon revolves around the earth, one half of the moon receives the sunlight while the other half is not receiving the sunlight. We can see half of the moon is receiving the sunlight and the other is not receiving the sunlight. Okay. So because of these difference in the speed of the revolution and rotation, most of the time we can see only a part of the bright side of the moon. Because of this, the moon appears to change shape. Now when the half of the moon is facing the earth and the other half is facing the sun, that is the reason we can see the changes in the shape of the moon. The different shape of the moon as seen from the earth are called as the phases of the moon. So different shapes which we are observing of the moon are nothing but the phases of the moon. So the phase of the moon in which the entire side of the moon facing the earth gets sunlight is called full moon. When the entire moon is getting the sunlight, that is the full moon. After 3-4 days, what we can see is a portion of the moon which is slightly smaller than the size of the full moon. Okay. So this is the full moon. As you can see, this is the full moon. Fine. This is called the gibbous moon. So what is gibbous moon? After 3-4 days, we could see only a little part of the moon is not visible. Okay. So that is the gibbous moon. Now after a week from seeing the full moon, we see half of the moon. So after the full moon, what we are observing here is the gibbous moon. So after gibbous moon, we will be observing the half moon after 3-4 days. Then this half moon phase, what happens after 3-4 days more, or 11 to 12 days after the full moon, what we can see is a bow-shaped curved moon. This is called the crescent moon. So here you can see the crescent moon. This kind of moon is known as the crescent moon. This is the half moon, this is the gibbous moon, and this is the full moon. Fine. So thereafter, 2 to 3 days later, or that is 14 to 15 days after the full moon, we cannot see the moon at all. Here you can see that we cannot see the moon at all. So this phase of the moon in which the side facing the earth gets no sunlight is called the new moon. When you cannot see the moon after the crescent, that is nothing but the new moon. After the new moon phase, the bright portion of the moon increases. Again what happens, the bright side again starts increasing. As you can see, observe here, again the moon starts, we can see the crescent moon again. Okay, the slowly the brightness starts increasing. So after the new moon phase, the bright portion of the moon increases. We again see the full moon after 14 to 15 days. Then again the same cycle repeats. Okay. So when the size of the bright part of the moon appears to grow, it is called a waxing moon. When its size appears to decrease, it is called a waning moon. The time taken from one new moon to the next new moon is called the lunar month. The lunar month is about 29 days. So here we can see that when the size is appearing to grow, we can call it as waxing moon, and when the size is appearing to decrease, it is called as waning moon. So the time taken for the one new moon to come back again, that is the time taken for the new moon to form, that is nothing but called as lunar month. So a lunar month means how many days? It takes 29 days. Let us look into the life on the moon. The moon has a very thin atmosphere. It does not contain important gases such as oxygen, nitrogen and carbon dioxide that are essential for life. So here on the moon we cannot see these kind of gases such as oxygen, nitrogen and carbon dioxide, without which life is not possible. Although traces of water has been discovered on the moon recently, it does not have any reserve of liquid water. So the condition needed for life do not exist on the moon, that there is no evidence of life on the moon. So here only a traces of water is discovered, but yet we cannot say that life can exist on moon. Okay, so there are no evidence that life can exist on moon. So let us learn more about the eclipse. The sun is the source of light, as we have already learned. Yes, while the earth and the moon are objects that do not allow light to pass through them, as they are the opaque bodies. As you know what is opaque body, the earth and the moon, they does not allow the light to pass through them. Okay, so they block the path of the sunlight. During their movement, sometimes the sun and the earth and the moon comes in a straight line. So all these bodies come in a straight line. Okay, in such situation, the moon or the earth cast their shadows on the other. So what happens when they come in a straight line? The moon or the earth, they will cast their shadow on the other one. Okay, so this is resulting in blocking the view of the sun or the moon for some time. Okay, so when we cannot see the sun or moon for such reasons, then we will call it as an eclipse. Now let us see what is solar eclipse. Okay, when the moon comes in between the earth and the sun, it blocks sunlight and casts its shadow on the earth. So in those parts of the earth where this shadow falls, the sun cannot be seen, and this is called a solar eclipse. Now I think you understood what is solar eclipse. What happens when the moon comes in between the earth and the sun? Okay, this is the image of the solar eclipse, as you can see here. So this is the sun and this is the earth. In between these two, what happens? The moon comes and blocks the sunlight. So what happens? The entire I will let you know. So in those part of the earth where this shadow falls, the sun cannot be seen. So as you can see, only a partial part of the earth does not receive the sunlight. So when this shadow of the moon falls on the earth, so this part receives the solar eclipse. Okay, so this is called as the solar eclipse. When only a portion of the sun is blocked by the moon, it is called as the partial eclipse. When the sun is completely covered by the moon, it is called total solar eclipse. Now you understood what is the meaning of portion. So portion of the sun, partial solar eclipse. Partial solar eclipse means only a partial sunlight is blocked by the moon, not the complete sunlight is not blocked by the moon. When it is only covered by partially, that is called as partial solar eclipse. Okay, when the sunlight is completely covered by the moon, then that is known as the, when it is completely covering the sunlight, then it is called as the total solar eclipse. Okay, so let us see what is lunar eclipse. So when the earth comes in between the sun and the moon, it blocks the sunlight from reaching the moon's surface. Thus, the shadow of the earth falls on the moon and we cannot see the shaded part of the moon. This is called as lunar eclipse. So here it is vice versa. What is happening now? Who is coming in lunar eclipse? Who is coming in between is the earth, not the moon. So what happens in solar eclipse? Who is coming? The moon is coming in between the sun and the earth. Here in lunar eclipse, the earth is coming in between the sun and the moon. Okay, so what happens here? The earth comes in between the moon and the sun, and this is blocking the sunlight to fall on the moon. As you can see that the moon is becoming darker. Okay, when what happens here, when the solar eclipse occur during partial lunar eclipse, okay, only a portion of the moon is covered by the earth's shadow. So when it is called as a partial lunar eclipse, only a part of the moon is covered by the earth's shadow. Okay, not the complete moon, but only the portion of the moon is covered by the earth's shadow. This is only a partial lunar eclipse. Now when it is called as total lunar eclipse, the moon is completely covered by the earth's shadow. When it is getting covered completely, as you can see here, this is complete total lunar eclipse. Okay, you can see the complete moon is getting covered because of the shadow falling on the earth's shadow falling on the moon. So this is complete total lunar eclipse. When the moon is here, you can see only a part of it is getting covered. Okay, so only a part of it, portion of it is getting covered by the shadow of the earth. This is partial lunar eclipse. So this is difference between the total lunar eclipse and the partial lunar eclipse. So let us look into the man-made satellites. So man-made satellite. The moon is the Earth's only natural satellite. Scientists have designed many artificial satellites. These satellites are sent into space by rocket to orbit the Earth just like the moon orbits it. Okay, so here moon is the only natural satellite, as I have already said you. Yes, so scientists have also designed many artificial satellites. Now these satellites are sent into space with the help of the rockets. Okay, just like the moon is revolving around the earth, the same way these satellites also does the same on its own orbits. Okay, so let us see more. So Sputnik was the first man-made satellite. It was landed in 1957, so by Russia. So Sputnik was the first man-made satellite in the world, which was launched in 1957 by Russia. Okay, then that is USSR. Then India launched its first satellite called the Aryabhatta in 1975. After Russia, what happened? India has launched, the first launch of India's satellite was the Aryabhatta in 1975. So India has sent satellite to the moon, that is Chandrayaan, and also to Mars, that is Mangalyaan. Okay, so let us learn more about satellites. Fine. So let us look into the artificial satellites. How are they useful? Fine. So artificial satellites are mostly used for communication, weather forecast and research. They are also used to study other objects in space. So artificial satellites, what does they do is they are useful for communication, through which we are getting communicated, that is those are cell phones, we can even say this Wi-Fi's and internets and television networks. All these are, we are getting connected only through these communication satellites. So weather forecast is also said, there are few satellites which are sent in the space with which we can know the weather forecast. Okay, let us learn more about these satellites, artificial satellites. So communication satellites are used to transmit radio and television TV signals. You are able to watch TV live cricket matches on TV because of communication satellites. Now because of these communication satellites, what is happening, they are used to transmit the radio. Okay, we are able to hear the radio and we are able to watch the live TV, those are like cricket matches and so on. Okay, live TV shows. Okay, so with these are happening just because of the with the help of the communication satellites. So these are also used for telephonic communications, as I have told you just now. So they are also used for telephonic communications, internet, navigation and etc. So let us see what is the meaning of communication. Communication means exchange of information, and navigation means managing the position, direction and speed of ships and aircraft. Okay, so let us see more about the other artificial satellite, that is for weather satellites. So weather satellite gather information about formation and movement of clouds. So what is this weather satellite doing? It is gathering the information about the movement and formation of the clouds. Okay, so this information is used to make daily weather forecast. Okay, so the information which we are getting is what is going to happen. Now we can see in our phones, through our phones, what is the weather right now, and even tomorrow, and even after day after tomorrow also, what will be the weather we can see in the phones. That is just because of the weather satellites we are getting this information. So these satellites also gather information about the snowfall, rain, storms, or cyclones. Okay. Yeah. So what happens here is some man-made satellites take photographs of certain regions of the earth and gives us valuable information such as forest data, groundwater data, and mineral reserves under the earth and the ocean. So what happens here, with the help of these, what we are doing, some man-made satellites, they take the pictures. Okay, they take the photographs of certain regions, okay, of certain places, and they give the information about the forest data, where is the forest located, how much is the space it is taking, and the groundwater data also it gives, and even the minerals, where are the reserve under the earth. Those informations also we get through the pictures, photographs that are taken by these satellites. Okay, these artificial satellites. So let us look into the last topic, that is the Indian astronomers. Okay, yeah. So a scientist who studies objects in space such as the stars, moons, planets, comets, meteors, etc. is called an astronomer. Okay, now let us see who is the astronomer. Who is an astronomer? He is a scientist who studies objects in space. Okay, who studies the objects which are in space such as the stars, moons, okay, planets, comets, meteors, etc. So that person is called as the astronomer. So there have been a number of astronomers from India who have made important contributions to the study of the universe. So not only in the complete world, but also in India, there are astronomers who have contributed so much to the universe, or you can say they have contributed to the entire world in the study of the universe. Okay, so some of the prominent ones are mentioned below. So here we go, we are going to learn about few of the scientists who are Indians. Okay, so let us learn about Aryabhatta. So Aryabhatta 476 to 550 CE. So Aryabhatta was one of the earliest astronomers who suggested that the earth rotates on its axis. Okay, he was the first astronomer who suggested that the earth rotates on its own axis. He also explained the formation of eclipse. Okay, he was the one who explained the formation of eclipse. Okay, so let us learn about the second scientist, that is Bhaskara 2, 1114 till 1185. So Bhaskara 2 calculated the time taken for the earth to orbit the sun. So Bhaskara 2, what he did, he calculated the time taken by the earth to orbit the sun. Okay, the difference between his calculations and modern calculations was only 3.5 minutes. So right now, whatever the calculation, the modern calculation we got, and the difference between his calculations was only 3.5 minutes was the difference. Okay, so next scientist is Meghnad Saha. So 1893 till 1956. So Meghnad Saha studied the chemical and physical conditions of stars. Okay, next one is Subramaniam Chandrasekhar. So 1910 till 1995. So Subramaniam, what he studied was the structure and life cycle of stars. Okay, he received the Nobel Prize in Physics for his work. So he was the one who got the Nobel Prize for physics for his work, and he studied the structure of the life cycle of stars. The last one, the last scientist of India whom we are going to discuss in this lesson is Jayant Narlikar. Jayant Narlikar. He was born in 1938. He has done important research on the origin of the universe. So these are these renowned scientists, or we can say the astronomers, whom we are discussing about, whom we have discussed in this lesson. Hope all the parts, all the bits which I have told are clear. Okay. Thank you, children. Thank you for watching. And if you feel that this explanation have helped you in any way, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you do want me to make more videos, so don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you.